Welcome to another episode of the Grow For It podcast. Our goal here is to highlight leaders in the personal development coaching industry and give you a glimpse into what's working and what challenges they're facing along the way so that you can both learn and grow in your personal life as well as your business. Today we have a very special guest, Divya Manchanda, who is a life and career transitions and leadership and systematic team coach. Divya, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Nathan, for inviting me.
Absolutely. Happy to have you. Can you start out by walking us through your journey in coaching and how you got started?
Sure. So it was after over 2 decades of a corporate career in strategic HR and organization development that was across industries, geographies, and global and regional leadership roles that I decided to start my own coaching and consulting practice to give shape to my purpose and calling. So that's where I formed Quest Awaken last year. And since then, I've been working with organizations and individuals in their own meaningful quests, big or small, to create sustainable growth, meaningful impact, basically to lead fulfilling lives. So that's a little background about my work. But in terms of my education, I come with a background of physics, a master's in organization development. I'm a credentialed coach with ICF and also an NLP practitioner and a systemic team coach. So my focus is to blend neuroscience, my corporate experiences in organization development into my transformational coaching. So that's where I look at beliefs, behaviors, unconscious patterns, and partner with individuals to help them move from their current to a desired state to create the impact they wish to see in their lives. So that's a little background about my corporate experience and how I moved into what I actually do as part of my coaching practice.
That's great. How did you know it was time to make that jump? Because obviously running your own business is very different from the corporate life.
Yeah, indeed. In fact, the journey started a couple of years before me taking the plunge into forming my practice. It was somewhere later in 2021. I felt this, inner voice that I couldn't quieten anymore. And that's when I felt that I need to build my own craft and experience first and experience coaching myself. And so I started investing in some of the courses and also looking at building my experiences around neuroscience. So I also enrolled myself as an internal coach beyond my day job. So I raised my hand and I said, I want to be part of the coach collaborative within my organization. And that was a great opportunity for me to partner with clients, which were essentially employees across the globe and across different aspects of their career and life transitions. So that's when I finally said that, okay, it's time for me to take a break and venture full-time into coaching. And as I have worked on my inner transformation journeys, I want to partner with people who are going through their own transformation journeys and give shape to my calling. So that's when I transitioned in 2024 full-time into setting up my own practice.
That's great. That's great. I heard you mention that you like to think about it through the lens of neuroscience a little bit. Can you talk us through how neuroscience impacts the coaching that you do?
Yeah, that's an interesting space. And I felt that I first became a student of it myself to see what it brings to my life. And I felt that when we look at behaviors, you can't bring a lasting change in how you show up in life just by using willpower or motivation. There are beliefs behind behaviors and what we call unconscious patterns, which we have to really look at it. You would have heard people say, I'm wired like this, and that's where people talk about those unconscious patterns and beliefs. So you really go deeper into those aspects and say, if you have to create a lasting change in your behavior, you wish to create a different life, then beyond motivation, willpower, you have to really look at those beliefs. So that's where I blend neuroscience into coaching to create lasting impact.
That's great. Can you tell us about what it's like from the life and career transitions coaching, what that part of your business looks like?
So that is more I would say when we look at life coaching, essentially every aspect of coaching that one touches, it leads at a deeper level to life coaching. So even if I do executive coaching, I work with leaders in the organization where we leverage some of the assessments like Hogan and a couple of others to look at their self-discovery and growth. But essentially, at an individual level, there are people who are going through various kind of life transitions. They can be accomplished professionals who are now moving towards retirement, and they are now looking for meaning and impact. They've been accomplished, great performers, and now they're struggling with the new identity coming up, right? So any kind of life transition, or there are people who are growing and moving to a different country as part of a career transition. Now, that's also a big life transition. So how do we look at now from being a national in a different country to being an immigrant in a different country? So that's a big transition for themselves and their families at times. So how do they look at their identity and meaning and impact at that point in time? So those aspects unravel in life and career coaching.
That's great. And what about the leadership and systemic team coaching side?
Yeah, systemic team coaching, I would say, is a stream which is picking up more. Individual coaching has been, or I would say leadership coaching has been there for a while, but now organizations are realizing that apart from having a team of high performers, how can I have a high performing team? So which means that you have to look at the team as one entity. And so organizations are now investing in coaching the team and also look at the systemic or the ecosystem related enablers and challenges to help the team perform better. So individual coaching is, of course, an individual's growth journey across the leadership pipeline, but systemic team coaching is something which is now gaining more momentum and traction and greater business value for organizations.
That's great. So it's good to hear that on the first side that we talked about, you focus on impacting change that affects their whole life, so much beyond just the professional life, because everything flows together, right? And then
That's true.
With a team, it's one step further than that. It's more than just one person, but it's how all of them work together to contribute.
Yeah, and it may be the same elements like identity or purpose, but it is about the team identity and the team purpose than just individual identity and purpose.
That's great. What would you say would be your proudest moment so far in running your own company?
I think it has been a journey which required both courage and vulnerability at the same time. So I would say the proudest moment was having the conviction to take a decision that I want to do something which is so unfamiliar after over 2 decades of my career, which was unknown. It had its own fair share of setbacks and successes. It taught me a lot, but it was time for me to look at my career from a renewed lens, my life from a renewed lens. So I think the proudest moment has been to, continuously look at life from an evolving standpoint, listen to that inner voice, and also enhance my relationship with myself and my loved ones, because I made some conscious choices about looking at my life and time rhythm through the day. So I think those work-life choices that I made are actually serving me pretty well. But it's a bold move. It is unfamiliar. It required me to face my own inner fears, doubts. I went through my own journey around that. But having gone through that, I think it generates more compassion and understanding when I deal with people who are standing at the same place where I was a couple of years ago. So I think it just helps me be more empathetic towards that.
Fantastic. And to go off of that, if you had to give advice to someone who is just starting out, like you did not too long ago, doing their own coaching business, what advice would you say would be most helpful, or that you wish you had back when you were starting?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And I would say that, if you believe this is something which is your calling, there is a guiding compass or a North Star which is in alignment with your values. Sometimes it is okay if you find yourself alone, but it's not a lonely journey. You can be greater than who you are if you leverage like-minded people, ask for support. And I am a believer of, if you pass a message to the universe somehow finds resources and relevant people to help you and enable you in the journey. So, there are moments when you will feel alone, but never believe you're lonely in this journey.
That's great. What would you say has been driving the most growth in your business right now?
I have taken more scenic route, if I dare to say that. So I'm not doing too much of a push strategy on social media or going big on Instagram. What I'm trying to do is leverage my own connections, talking to people who are my business stakeholders, my HR fraternity, friends and family network. So even if it is one person, one day at a time, I'm talking to them to help them understand what is coaching. Because I realize that people have very different perceptions about what coaching is, oftentimes confusing it with therapy, counseling, mentoring. These are the words which sometimes become like synonyms, but they're actually not. And people who are part of corporates have been more exposed to a term like coaching, or we understand sports coaching. But what is life coaching? What is career coaching? What is transformational coaching? So I think one of the things that I took on myself is how can I share my own story, my own journey, and help people understand what coaching is and has a potential to transform your lives. So that is where one day at a time, one conversation at a time, I talk about coaching. And that's when I got my first breakthrough client when I was talking to one of my business stakeholders. And when that person experienced coaching, they renewed their contract at least twice. They went into a long-term journey with me. And that person was actually the one to refer me the next client and the next client. So, it's when you experience it yourself and you feel that you've touched the life of someone in a meaningful way, I think that creates impact, that creates growth, that creates credibility. So then I am not just talking about my business, I have my clients who've experienced it.
That's great. Give me just one moment.
I think I was somehow pushed out of the studio, so I just joined in.
That's all right. Well, I'll clip that part out, so we'll act like that never happened. But that's great. So jumping right back in where we left off. How do you differentiate what you do from therapy or things like that you were just discussing? What do you say when people have those kinds of impressions?
It's about meeting where people are. So when I connect with people, it's about understanding, do they already have an experience about coaching? What is their understanding of the same? Or else I just start by sharing, how coaching is different from some of the other seemingly similar professions, but they are quite distinct. So when I share those details, I give examples, but I would like to highlight about coaching that the essential philosophy behind that is that it doesn't say that something is broken which needs to be fixed. The whole aspect of coaching is that the client is already fully resourceful, even if he or she doesn't currently feel that. It is the coach who has that inherent belief that you're fully resourceful and I'm a partner who will help you find that inner resourcefulness. So it is about how do I help the client feel fully whole, functional, and present in the moment, and help them take accountability and ownership to create a desired life. So I think something which really stands apart is the coach doesn't come from a position of expertise. The coach comes from a position of a thought partner, in a non-judgmental space, creating a safe space for client to own what comes through in the coaching. And sometimes, it's like a client seeing a clean mirror in a coach, and sometimes there are aspects which get revealed through coaching, which they feel very great about. But sometimes there are parts of them which get revealed through conversations which they don't fully accept initially. Through the journey, it's a process of integration. When they accept all those parts as an integral part of them, is when they also find their own inner resourcefulness. So it's a unique journey, but it requires courage, it requires vulnerability to go through that, and it requires intentionality of taking action. The onus is on the client. The coach is an enabler.
That's great. And it's good also because you're taking people who are already performing well and maybe in a good position and showing them that even though you're doing well now, everyone can continually get better and improve and grow. And so it's open to everyone, very much like a lot of people would think of therapy and they think that maybe they have to fix something or something's wrong, but you're not necessarily saying that, which is pretty cool approach.
That's true. In fact, in some cases, they are high achievers, great performances at corporate or in organization or their own businesses, but they may have another aspect of life in which they require coaching. So whether they're going through the relationship challenges or, feel that their life is not congruent or authentic in line with their values. So it's a different aspect of life that they want coaching on. And eventually we look at values, beliefs, and unconscious patterns to bring all of that. But they may be doing great in one aspect of life. So that's where we look at individuals or clients as a whole, not just parts of them.
Right. Yeah, that's great. You mentioned that most of your business now so far has been referral based. Do you expect that to continue? Is that kind of how you want it to be? Or do you think that you'll branch out into other avenues of marketing down the road?
I would say referral is definitely one of the big component, and it is through the other thing which I started doing was to share my own transformation journey, my own story on LinkedIn. So it was not about coming from a position of expertise and say, hey, these are the things, these are the frameworks, follow this. I was just authentically putting myself out there. And over a period of time, not much do I post. I don't post every day. It's intermittent posting. But what I realized that by virtue of connecting with people, in various streams. I met coaches, I met clients, I met people in organizations, people in different professions. So each day I just trying to learn what's new in the world, in their own worlds also. And now I got some opportunities where those are collaboration opportunities with different organizations who have their own clients. So they are maybe big consulting firms and they're working for different organizations and they work on partnership models. So there are different kind of opportunities which I was not initially looking forward to or positioning myself for. They started opening up, I just had to have courage to put myself out there in the arena, and you never know what kind of opportunities start showing up.
That's great. That's great. What would you say so far has been the hardest part of running your business?
I think I would probably not call it the hardest part, but I would say it requires intentional action and being mindful about is my own well-being. Talking to people sometimes, having conversations, there are heartfelt life narratives, and how do I ensure that my empathy doesn't get the good of me? So, there is how can I be a partner in the journey, but also focus on my own breath work, my well-being, both physical, mental, and also emotional well-being. So how do I draw healthy boundaries and not become the part of the story? How do I stay part of the solution versus client's story? So I think maintaining my own presence both during the coaching and between the coaching sessions are an integral part of my well-being. And if I am not focused on my well-being, I don't think I can show up in true presence as a coach during the coaching session. So that is something which requires an intentional action, a discipline around it. So yeah, that is an aspect which I would like to call out.
That's great. And are there specific things in your daily workflow that make you feel that way or that are challenging to you in those areas?
So, I think initially it's about a rhythm, creating a rhythm, creating a pace. So coming from a corporate background, when I am on my own. There is no particular structure of work, of a daily routine. I have to set something of my own. So initially, I used to say, okay, I'm going to get up, have my gratitude, prayer being said, eat my breakfast, and show up. So it was about a day, setting up a daily rhythm to my work, and carve out times, where I would like to go for nature walk, or take out time for some of the aspects which I love doing, but I could seldom take out time. So, say, for example, writing poetry or taking to acrylic painting, these were the aspects which are also part of my creative expression. So, I think that is where, when I started giving a new structure to my day, I was intentional about carving out moments for myself and my loved ones. So that was quite, I think that's serving me pretty well.
Fantastic. Thinking ahead a little bit, where do you want your business to be within the next 12 to 18 months? What do you see developing?
It's an interesting aspect, and I often think about it. Sometimes I focus on a certain aspects of defining the impact, whether it is kind of clients that I have, or the number of clients that I have, or the financial impact, value added impact, how many lives did I touch and how did I touch them meaningfully, and work it out backwards. And then used to say that, okay, if in 12 to 18 months, this is the X target, then in 6 months, 12 months. And so that's one way of how I do planning. And it's the same me who does a different kind of a planning. And I say, I'm going to give my best every day and see where life takes me. So I don't want to put limits to say, oh, it's only this much that I will achieve in 12 to 18 months. Because I also feel that by working with integrity, with intentionality, and with a higher purpose, there is something which you can really manifest, which is even beyond our own cognitive understanding of this is what I'm aiming to achieve. So at a practical level, on a day-to-day defining my structure level, I do a backward planning from my targets. But at the higher purpose level, I say I leave it to the universe and see how it unfolds. So there are both aspects of planning, interestingly, that I follow.
That's great. I think that's a very healthy way to look at it. That's fantastic. What would you think that you need to have in place to take your business to that next level?
I think it's important that I continue to grow my craft, grow my practice. I mean, my practice as a coach, how do I practice? The time that I invest in my own self-development. So that is something which is really important. So in my daily routine, apart from doing business development or social interactions or actual coaching conversation, I'm intentional about keeping time every day for my self-learning. So that is something which needs to be true, that how do I continuously see what are the trends which are coming up, what are the new frameworks which are there, how does it apply to me, and if it served me well, how can I take it to my clients? So a lot of that part goes in experimentation, learning and experimentation. So it's the joy of learning itself that nourishes my soul. So I feel that is something which needs to be true. I need to continuously refine my way of being as a coach.
That's great. If you could free up 10 to 12 hours a week or 10 to 20 hours a week, what would you focus on instead? Whether that's more things within your business or maybe outside of your business?
Additional 10 to 20 hours?
Yeah.
Unless that's a trick question. I would say I would not like to put everything back into business. I would like to keep, a big share of that on living my own life, in line with my purpose, spend time with my kids, my family, my parents, and also, ensuring that I am taking all that is needed for my well-being, my physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being, what I call holistic well-being. So I think a good chunk I would invest in myself, my life, my well-being, my relations, including my relationship with myself. Because I think if those aspects are healthy, then it refines the health of my business practice, or I would say enhances the scope and growth of my business practice and the value that I'm able to add to my clients' lives. So there's no proportion, but I would say it'll be a healthy balance of what I put back in life and what I also put in my coaching practice.
That's great. That's great. How do you see technology or automation playing a role in your growth over the next few years?
I'm being careful in choosing my words. But being honest about it, I was a fence sitter when we talk about experimenting with technology on the coaching aspect of it. So I wasn't too sure. I would not say I was skeptical, but I was a fence sitter, not the one to grab immediately and see what's coming up. But then I realized that when I started going deeper into establishing my practice, I did realize I need help. Now, at that point, when you're judicious about your resources, you're also looking at time as a huge resource. So that's where I started leveraging technology as a collaborative partner. And I was surprised that how quickly I changed my status from being a fence sitter to be an experimenter, an explorer, being curious about it and find ways of how it can enhance my self-expression, my creativity, or looking at content design. So I would say I started leveraging technology while keeping the reins of the creativity and design with myself. The quality of prompts define the quality of the output that you get from some of these collaboration platforms. So I started leveraging them for my design and facilitation.
Yep, that's great. That's very valuable. Oh, let's see.
For some reason, it times me out.
Well, glad you're back. We'll take care of that. So we'll keep going. That's great. What you said about the quality of the prompt, that's very important these days. A lot of people don't realize that. And it's cool that you're using it to, in a way, continue your learning journey and level up your business. It's just amazing the amount of information that's available to us and the great resources that we have available to us. So that's fantastic to hear that you're starting to implement that. How do you, in your coaching, how do you maintain momentum when you see people making traction, maybe between sessions or even after a program ends when you're done working with someone?
So there are two aspects of what you mentioned. One is that initially, if we've done an exploration to see whether coaching is the right solution, what they're looking at, and they are willing to invest in that journey, I would say that requires a couple of conversations. Because one thing I realized that, a lot of us, we want to change the aspects of current state which are not serving us well, but the change really requires us to commit to that journey. However uncomfortable some of our current state scenarios is, but that's a familiar space. So sometimes we continue to live with the pain than actually investing paradoxically the time needed to change the very scenario which is not working. So I think it is important that in the initial conversations, reaching a stage of commitment that I am done with this aspect of my current state and I commit to change. If it's only a wishful thinking, the whole journey of coaching will not be a fruit or as much value to the client. And it's a catch for a coach to be in a defensive scenario that, I'm under pressure to add value. When you're beginner coaches, sometimes, that's a trap that a coach may fall into, that I'm not being able to add value in a client's life. But as you grow, as you experience, as you practice, you realize that the magic is in the client. You have to trust the process and see how it unfolds. But for that, it requires commitment on the client's part. So I think having those initial multiple conversations are worthwhile investment before you actually say, let's engage into a coaching relationship, and then you co-create the contract and get deeper into it. The other aspect is what you asked about between the coaching sessions. So I think that's where when I say co-create the initial contract, there is also co-creation of accountability. That what is a regular rhythm in which we will meet. um, Also helping the client to understand that ownership of the decisions and the consequences thereof rest with the client. If they invest that much of a time, energy, reflection, journaling, or whatever are the aspects which are unfolding as part of their action plans, if they commit to it, that's a level of change that they will experience. So I think increasingly when the client understands this aspect of ownership and starts showing up in that element, the coach doesn't really have to worry between whether the client will keep up with the momentum or not. I had my clients coming back, as I mentioned, that one of the clients, after we completed her 10 session journey, it was a deeper session. The client themselves mentioned that I want to continue the journey further. Right? So as much as you want the client to eventually become self-reliant, sometimes there are longer transformation journeys. So if the client have really started experiencing the value coming out of it, they would be equally investing to stay into it.
That's a great plan and a good way to get the clients to buy into it as well, because you always hear it's hard to help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. So it's good to gauge their level of interest and have them take part in setting goals of where they want to get to along with you. That's fantastic. Who would you say along those lines would be your ideal client, or someone that you'd say is a really good fit for your coaching that you offer?
I think, as I mentioned, that someone who's feeling vulnerable, that's okay, but also has courage and a commitment to change. That is all that is needed. There will be people who have different levels of current self-awareness or understanding of what are my values, what are my beliefs. There are a lot of time clients, I have worked with clients where they are currently in a state where every question that I would ask, it will be like, I don't know. So then you really, but then you say, hey, this is the coaching journey that to commit to it. And they say, but yeah, I don't want to quit this coaching journey. So you know that they are wanting to make the change, but currently do not know how and where to begin. So you stay into it and continue with that. So, sometimes there are clients who are so self-aware and very quickly they'll be able to say, yeah, but this is how I see it. This is my understanding of it. So as a coach, it is important to accept the person as a whole, their context, their personalities, their ways of communication. So I think the more the coach is able to maintain a non-judgmental and psychologically safe space, every client is an ideal client, provided they have the courage and the commitment to make the change.
That's great. Very well said. What would you say is one life lesson that you learned along your journey that you want to make sure that everyone out there, maybe every one of your coaching students or clients, if you will, that they make sure to learn during their time with you?
I think my life journey and the journey so far in Quest Awaken, I've come to realize that there comes a time when we awaken to a higher life, an intentional life. And it is that quest which gives our life its meaning, its purpose. So every client's journey is unique, and I partner with them in this purpose-driven quest, however big or small, even if it is one person, one day at a time. So I would say, when you have that calling, when you have that inner voice, we all suppress it at times, but there comes a time when that voice cannot be quieted. I would just say, don't wait for setbacks to awaken to that life. We get those nudges, those messages in different shapes and forms. Can we quieten ourselves a little bit in those calm moments, even though we are in a survivor hustle today in a competitive world. Take moments to just quieten yourself and sit with yourself and see, where is my life going? How do I define happiness? Am I living in the moment and taking time to do what matters the most? Sometimes carving out time and energy for those kind of things can actually lead us to a very different life. So I would say spend time with oneself, pause, reflect, and live in the moment, I would say. That will change the quality of the life we live. It will not take away our challenges, it will not take away moments of setback. It will just open up a different dimension of life, which can give our life meaning, happiness, joy in the moment.
That's amazing. That's a fantastic tip. I feel like that's hard to do sometimes. Our culture is so distracted, and there's notifications popping up on our phones, our computers, our TVs, everything. And that's a very good reminder to take a step back sometimes and reflect. So
Indeed.
Thank you very much for that, and thank you for joining us today, Divya. What would be the best place for our viewers to find you if they want more information about your coaching or your programs?
So I would encourage to check the website www.questawaken.com. You can look at what kind of transformation journeys that people have gone through, what kind of different aspects of transformational coaching, whether it is life, career, or leadership, or even organizations' journeys. I do consulting piece as well. So, which journey resonates the most with you? And there is a link for in the website to connect with me, or else email me at info@questawaken.com. Email me and I'll get back and connect with you.
That's great. Well, thank you very much, Divya, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for inviting, and it is an enriching conversation, and thank you for showing interest in understanding the life story and also the journey behind Quest Awaken.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you sharing and being vulnerable with us today. And thank you to our viewers. If you found value in this, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on another episode of Grow For It. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.